not forgotten.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing? This is Anthony Sadi. I am at Men of Impact. I can't see a pic. There we go. We're at Men of Impact here on Friday afternoon, just like we do every Friday afternoon. I'm so excited. What are you doing?
That was me. Sorry.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm here with my guest and my co-host, Cody.
Yeah.
And we're just excited to be here. I tell you guys all the time, this is my favorite day. My favorite time of the day is to be here on the radio with somebody who we feel is a man of impact, who is impacting his community, his family in a positive way. Because guys out there, listen, you're going to make an impact one way or the other. Is yours going to be negative or is yours going to be positive? That's the question that we're here to ask today. So we only bring on guys who are making positive impacts. That doesn't mean they didn't make negative impacts before. Yours truly. So we're trying to figure that out. The way how this all happened was this. I started going to a church a long time ago. I went to a men's study group, Bible study group, and these guys saved my lives. They taught me how to be a man of impact, how to treat my family right, my wife right, my kids right. They taught me about a lot of things that I was getting terribly wrong. So I decided I got to give back, right? We got to pay it forward kind of thing, right? And it's all about Jesus. And that's who got me here ultimately. These guys were just tools that Jesus used, is what I say. So it all started as a Bible study. Now listen, we have that Bible study every Saturday morning still. It's at a Starbucks, or at least off to the side of Starbucks. Starbucks still doesn't let us sit around there right now, but it is off to the side. It's every Saturday morning from 6:30 to 8:30. It's in Corona, off Indian Truck Trail, at the Starbucks by the Vons, Sycamore Creek Center. Now, what we encourage you to start your own Bible study, your own Men of Impact Bible study, wherever you're at. That Bible study started with me and another guy meeting at 6:30 in the morning, and we've grown to well over 20 guys most of the time. And we all share life together, not just a Saturday morning. We go on fishing trips or whatever, and a lot of different things together. We also put some bags together for the homeless that we keep in our cars and we hand out. So we want you to start your own. If it seems a little daunting, hey, you can get in contact with us. I got a lot of guys that can help you out, encourage you. We've got lots of places that you can reach us. Men of Impact, as you can see, IMPAKT. You can find us at www.menofimpact.com. You can find us on Facebook, Men of Impact on Facebook, and even Instagram at Men of Impact, IMPAKT. If you have any questions, if you need encouragement to start your own, go ahead and send it to us. Listen, I know a guy. I promise you, I know a guy that can help you out, talk you through some of the rough spots, because sometimes, it gets tough, and sometimes you get discouraged, and sometimes you get tired when you're in ministry and when you're working through those kind of things. And don't get it twisted, guys. Bible study together is a ministry. That's how this all started. That's what we're trying to do. Now we're currently working on getting us into a 501(c), starting our own corporation and the whole 9 yards. So donations are always welcome, because they don't pay me to be on the radio. I pay them. So donations are always welcome from everybody. Again, you can find us on all of these different things. Oh, yes. Also, menofimpact@gmail.com. If you have any questions, send me an email. Anything at all. Cody, my co-host, is going to be manning the computer. So if you have any questions for us today, or you just want to say hi, please say hi on the Facebook page, on the post. Also, subscribe to the YouTube page, please. Yeah. We need lots of people to get out there, because we feel like we're doing something that's worth a darn. So these are the kind of things that people need to see. Part of my whole thing is heroes are not on the screen, the court, the field. Heroes are your everyday guys treating their wives right, treating their kids right, doing what's good for their family and their communities. That's what a real hero is. And that's who we invite on the show. So my guest today, I'm going to go out on a limb. It's kind of a hero of mine at this point. He wasn't always because I'm tough like that. But he is now my son-in-law, so uh,
It's official.
it's official. So we're going to talk to him about some of the things, the challenges of what it's like to be young. Well, he's not so young, but the challenges of being newly married, running, and I mean literally running an entire uh, nonprofit organization on his own. We're going to talk about how he got there and the story that that brings, because that involves my daughter as well. So, and one of the other reasons I started this show, Jessica, I know you're listening today. One of the reasons I started this show is because I used to hear from my girls all the time, those guys just aren't out there anymore, Anthony. There's no more good guys out there, which is really a cop out, which is basically setting them up. So if we find a bad one, you're not going to be upset with us, right? No, no, ladies, I am. So for all the ladies out there, you get to see through a myriad of different guests what it really looks like, and for later on. So his name is Christian Esteban, and I'm going to just let him give you a little rundown about what he does and who he is and where he comes from, and then we're going to get right to it. Okay?
Well, Anthony, thanks so much for having me. Cody, it's a pleasure. I love this team. I love the setup you guys have. This is a lot of fun. As Anthony, as you just said, it's official. There's no going back now whatsoever. My father-in-law, yes, that's right. I'm incredibly excited to be able to say that. And for the last couple of years, as I've dated Jessica, it's been incredible just to be able to have fellowship with you. And of course, I know how incredible your plans for ministry are, what those look like in terms of grand vision that you have for Men of Impact, but also what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. That includes your Bible studies, of course, that you're running. And of course, that also includes things like this. So thanks so much for allowing me on today. I'm really happy to be here. You are too kind. You really speak of me highly. I really do appreciate that. In a nutshell, my name is Christian Esteban. As Anthony just said, I married his daughter about 5 weeks ago now. 5, 6 weeks. It's been a great 40 days so far. I've got nothing to complain about. And it's been a wonderful season the last 2 years just to be able to be invited into your family. I know you did that slowly but surely because you really wanted to make sure that you're able to get put a ring on it.
Put a ring on it, baby.
Get one of these,
That's
as
right.
you would say. And what was the other part of that?
One of these and an I do.
One of these and an I do.
That's right.
So not only was it one of these, but I now have the I do. So that's been incredibly exciting to be able to grow my family. As you know, and as we'll get into just a little bit, the majority of my family live up in Northern California, my parents, my grandparents. So it's incredible to be able to have a family, and that includes yourself, right here where I live and work. And speaking of work, as you said, I'm the executive director of Joya Scholars. That's www.joyascholars.org. Find us on Instagram. And we facilitate after-school academic support services for junior high and high school students, predominantly from low-income Latinx and immigrant neighborhoods in and around the city of Fullerton. What do we mean by that? We have about 75 junior high and high school students that we work with right now, and we pair each of our students with an academic mentor who is a volunteer, someone who is a current college student or a college graduate, a working professional or a retired individual, someone to bring into our students' lives to be able to walk with them as they go through their journey of junior high, high school, and into higher education or a specific career path. At the same time, we pair each of our students with tutors after school. So we're running dozens upon dozens of virtual tutoring sessions every day after school, just about right now. A lot of our students are going to be logging on for that. And for our 12th graders, our high school seniors, we have a College Apps Academy. It's a pretty complex process just to apply to college as it is, but incredibly more complex for students and families who may not have that background, and for students who dream of becoming first-generation college students. So that is what we do in a nutshell. It is just an incredible blessing. Best job in the world. Best job in the world to be able to work with our kids, our junior high and high schoolers, our college students, our college graduates, their parents, and all the incredible people in and around our community. So, yeah, best job in the world, that's for sure.
Awesome. So let me start with this. How many kids did transition to college in the last year?
So far, so last year in June, we had 10 graduates, 10 high school graduates. The program has been around for 11, 12 years now, and we work in 2 different neighborhoods. So the first 5 or 6 years that was really getting together the buy-in from the neighborhood, the community development. How do we make this a program that is not only made to benefit a community, but something that's driven by the community itself?
Something sustainable.
Something
You
sustainable.
hear that, Jess?
Absolutely. and we're Jessica and
Jessica's on right now too, so
I know
yes,
she
she is.
is.
Oh, absolutely, she is. She wouldn't miss this. And so that was the first 5 to 6 years. In the last 3 to 4 years, that's when we've been able to see those high schoolers graduate, enter college, pursue career paths. So now have 31 high school graduates that are in various colleges from UCI, UCR, Cal State Fullerton, Cal Poly Pomona. We had our first student go to UCLA last year. So
Nice.
last year we had 10 graduates, and we have 31 altogether. So we've now served over 100 students.
Wow.
Awesome. And you've been doing well. Let's start with because it is it's part of the story for our lives together, which I guess I'm kind of stuck with you forever. So, um,
Unless there's something I don't know about.
no, she'll make sure of that. So you started in this job. So you've done everything in this particular organization. Do we have anybody on to say hello to, Cody?
We have Gary Savage, Rick Jr., Jessica Esteban, obviously. But yeah, those are a couple people that have been commenting.
Hello, guys. So so you've done basically you started in this and without giving well, I'm going to give some of it away. So you started here as as one of those mentors you were talking about, one of those college graduates or retired people, professional people. You started here as a mentor, right? Working at that, not working for, but at that time, volunteering for your current wife, correct?
That's right, and that's I didn't know it at the time. Oh boy, did I not know it at all. What was going to be coming in the next few years? But so going back and setting the stage for that, I graduated from UCI, Zot Zot Zot,
Yeah.
in my anteater battle cry in 2014. And
That's the anteater battle
that
cry?
is the anteater battle cry.
Zot,
it is the
zot,
fierce
zot.
anteater. Zot Zot Zot. Don't be making fun of Peter the
Okay.
anteater here, okay?
Okay.
UCI is a nice school.
It's a
I know. It's
amazing school.
the
amazing
word
school.
battle cry, zot, zot, battle, zot. It just
Anteater.
escapes me.
Loved going to UCI. I was a first-gen college student going there.
First gen.
Was able to move away.
So was
from,
your wife, by the way? First gen.
That's right, and it was able to move away from home in order to be able to do that, which was a difficult decision, but I was incredibly supported by my family, and it was incredible to be able to take that leap of faith to move away from home to do that. Graduated in 2014, majored in psychology and anthropology, which led to about a year's worth of drought without working after graduating. And not to say those majors don't lead to incredible careers, but it really gave me a lesson of you need to be able to anticipate those things. Of course, as we all learn in life, you need to be able to anticipate those things before they happen. And I moved back home for a little bit, and then I moved back down to Southern California early 2015 because I knew I had invested that much time in myself at UCI, and I really wanted to try to make it work. I feel like I owed that to myself to give it a shot. So I was only working at, I think, AMC theaters at the time in Southern California at the downtown Disney
Man, I'm sorry I missed
location. And cleaning up people's popcorns with 2 4-year degrees under my belt. But I was more than happy to do it because I had to work, had to do something. And I just started volunteering because I knew I wanted to work in the education sector with junior high or high school kids, or similarly college students who were first gen students who were first time college students. So I just started volunteering, and I was looking on Volunteer Match. It's a great website. As I saw, okay, Joya Scholars. What is this? Because I wasn't a
Joya,
because I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker. And I called them, quickly learned it was Hoya because Jessica answered on the other end of the line. And she was the program director at the time of the organization. It was only 2 people at the organization. Sorry, one herself at the organization at the time. So she was the boss. and she loves it when I say that. She was the boss. So I called her and we had a great conversation about what it is they do. I went in to go interview to become a mentor to a junior high student, and met Jessica for the first time. Started working with the students she was serving, and worked with a junior high school student 2015, 2016. And then I kept volunteering for those 2 years. While I was volunteering, I had to find actual work, as you can imagine. So I signed up for AmeriCorps, which I absolutely endorse. I don't know if you're familiar with AmeriCorps.
I'm not.
Are you familiar with Peace Corps by any
Yes.
chance? Where my friend a few years ago, he spent 2.5 years in Paraguay, and he did service and health education over there. And so, Peace Corps, you go overseas, you serve a community for 2.5 years.
Wow.
AmeriCorps is the domestic version of that. So
Okay.
you sign up for 1 year of service for a nonprofit organization in your own backyard. So I signed up for AmeriCorps. It pays peanuts, but I wanted to get some experience. And so I worked for Orangeview Junior High School on the west side of Anaheim, next to Cypress College, which was a blessing because I was able to, number one, work closely with junior high students for the first time. And number two, I was able to develop and put into place a college and career readiness program from scratch, really, for my own design, and work directly with students who I could support in that way. So I did that for about a year, and then I did a second year as an AmeriCorps, which a lot of people call crazy. Again, paid peanuts for a second year. But I worked for a nonprofit in Santa Ana called 10C. They're a nonprofit resource center, and I found a love for not only working with youth but working with volunteers. Long story short, I was hired by Joya Scholars in 2017 and was able to merge that love for working with youth and education and working with volunteers to be able to have this amazing group of students. And for every student, we have, like I said, that mentor and that tutor, just as many volunteers as we have students. That's the only way that it works. I like to say at Joya Scholars that we, as an organization that runs off of $250,000 or so a year, we don't necessarily have all the bells and whistles, that a lot of nonprofits have. But what we do have is the power of people and the strength of relationships, where instead of relying on a dollar, we're able to bring in the right people at the right time to have the right conversations with our students. And ultimately, that is the difference maker and what is able to rewrite the narrative in their lives and push them towards that higher education or career pathway.
So you started out. With you took Jessica's job when she left.
I did. I didn't want to say that.
But you didn't take it. She actually referred you, and you didn't take it.
That's right.
Right. And she brought it up the other day. The reason I know about Peace Corps is because she was actually approved. I'm getting ready to get on a boat. I can't remember to where, but get on a plane or a boat to go for 2 years. And then she decided not to do that. And then, which is a good thing because you guys probably would have never met.
Everything happens for a reason.
That's right.
That's right. Everything happens for a reason. We were just thinking, we talk about this a lot, me and Jessica, but if COVID had happened, a year later or a year earlier, then we probably would never have gotten, just met back up.
Right.
And gotten together.
And I say, luckily you would have never met. And Jessica, I know, that doesn't come easy, but yes, I just said it out loud on the radio. I am happy that you met my daughter. You were the first one, in my opinion, that saw her the way I see her. So I'm very appreciative that she found the right guy. But I think some of the things that you were talking about right there that, and I'm sure Cody can attest because he's younger. Some of the things that he's gone through is part of what I'm thinking about. What you're talking about. I did this, out of work for a year, moved back home, came back down here, worked for peanuts for 2 years, to not knowing what you wanted to do, but not knowing what you want to do, but at least knowing enough to figure out what you wanted to look into. And then some of the things that you looked into, like what was that place? What was the website that you looked to find opportunities?
Volunteer Match.
Volunteer Match. Okay, so guys, there's a place out there. If you're looking to volunteer, there's Volunteer Match. Also, you can also send you can also send minuteimpact@gmail.com. I'll get you something to do. Trust me. Well, me and this guy will find you something to do. So, but the other thing is to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and the the wherewithal, and that's not the word I'm looking for, but the wherewithal it took to not get discouraged,
Trust the process.
trust the
Mm.
process, not get discouraged, making peanuts with 2 degrees, right? Uh,
Patience and
And
perseverance.
I was just talking to my dad about this a couple weeks ago when I was back home visiting. But well, first off, my mom and my parents, they had an amazing mantra for us growing up for both me and my sister, and that was do the best you can, and we'll be proud of you no matter what. And that was something that always stuck with me. And I remember in that time post college graduation struggling. I was working for an Amazon warehouse, an AMC theater, a public soccer park, a call center, another nonprofit that was one of like an outreach activism type nonprofit that I didn't have passion for. Um, Door-to-door salesman for Verizon,
yeah.
just blips on the radar. And I remember during that time, my parents, though they were continuing to be, encouraging, they never put me down for how long it was taking me to connect the dots. They're
Yeah.
always lifting me up, and I'll always be grateful to them for continuing to lift me up, because that's a very easy thing to do. I mean, myself as a parent, watching a child go through that and being unemployed for a year after investing so much time and money in their education, that might make me frustrated. But they
Oh,
were
it'll make you frustrated. How you respond is the point.
Yep.
and it was that that environment of just the trustworthiness that my parents have been able to cultivate in our family. That is incredibly difficult to do, um, and it's because they're peacemakers, and they're encouragers at heart. So yeah.
So, and that can be a difficult thing, and then especially in ministry can be a lot. And I know because now I have a son-in-law and a daughter who are in ministry, and it was a lot. Well, it was just a lot to and you have to continue to encourage and I wasn't always fantastic at that, but I was always there for her. I believe I tried to be, and now that you're doing that and you've done all of it. So first you did the mentoring job there, then you did the program director, and now you're the executive director. So now you're the guy in charge of bringing in the money, right? So we've got a lot to talk about.
That's right.
That's right. Well, there's a lot.
I help you with the 501c3 and all those,
You can help
all
me with
that fun stuff.
grant writing and all of that stuff. Okay. Hey, some of the guys out there might have heard you say you can help me out with the 501c because we're starting that process. So,
Real quick, your wife said, "I love you, husband. You're killing it." 2 red hearts.
I love you too. Thank you.
so wow, that still makes me sweat a little. So let's get some couple things I want to talk about. Is first of all, tell a little bit of a story. Well, I could be it wasn't an easy road for any of the guys in my daughter's lives. I did not make it easy. Chased a couple away. She'll attest to that. And did my darndest, and I believe me, I don't have any regrets about it. But I made sure that I didn't make it easy on you as well. One of my mantra was, "There's no I love yous. There's no your family. There's none of that crap without one of these and an I do. When there's a one of these and an I do, okay, we're family. Okay, now I love you, kid." So until then, so tell me how, because not everybody, like I said, I chased some away.
You made me fight for it.
Yes.
Oh,
You'd made me crawl and scratch, and it was an uphill battle. I've got some scarves.
So coming from your perspective, because from my perspective, I didn't really care. From your perspective, is did that make it? And I'm not really sure how to put that into words, but first of all, anything worth having is worth working for.
Yeah.
Right? Second of all, did you ever? Okay, how about this? Did you ever at any time think, "Man, this is just forget it.
It's too much
Yeah,
work, or
it's
too
just
much
too much,
to
yeah.
if it not only is it the investment now, but it's the this is my father-in-law, moving forward. That's what it is. I think the place where I've been personally in the last 2 years has come from, it may be one thing in particular. I'm sure that there's been a few other things, But one of those that always stands out is I come from a very I come from a very strong, like female-centered household, and a big reason is because my mom was the leader of our household growing up, and that I had a sister, and that my only sibling was a sister. Having a younger sister, by the way, fun fact about my sister, Madison was born on my second birthday. She's
Wow.
exactly 2 years younger than I am, so I like to think of us as twins.
That's pretty cool.
Um, yeah, and so she was my second birthday present and my favorite birthday present I've ever gotten, other than the bike that I got when I turned 5. But it was seeing her grow up and knowing that she was looking up to somebody who had to be a godly man, essentially. And for me as a guy dating, knowing that no man would ever be good enough for her, and I know that I have to at least try to be that type of man who would be good enough for Jessica, good enough for her family. But I full well know where the bar is because I'm very protective of my sister and those who she dates and all of that. So I think a big reason is putting myself in the shoes of an older brother and how to be responsible and how to reflect positively for my sister, for my family, but knowing that that's important because that's the type of man that I need to be. I'm not that man most of the time, but it's the man that I need to be for Jessica and dare I say for you.
There you say it.
No, but it's
Got
such a pleasure to be able to say that though. It's a pleasure to know, and we've talked about this a lot before, Anthony, but that's my ideal self, and there are so many ways that I don't live in accordance to that. And there are, but in our conversations, you've been through so much in life, and you've been able to just impart on me that I'm really at the starting line at this point. Me and Cody, we're at the starting line, and not to say you're of a certain
I'm
age
not
or
at the
anything.
finish line either.
You're not at the finish
I
line.
wish I was.
But relatively speaking, being at the starting line, you really do want to pass on that wisdom as best you can to make sure that we're taking care of our hearts and that they remain bound by God and His will for us.
Okay, and now here's a good question for some of the young guys too. And I know you've just been married a few weeks, right? But you have been dating for a little while. But what is your? Because I've been married it'll be 20 years this year, by the way, and I was the guy who was never going to get married. 20 years this year, and I can honestly tell you, without Jesus, one of us would be in prison. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know how anybody without Jesus can stay married.
It's a good question.
It's a good question, right?
Yeah.
How, and now I know you're new, and you're not necessarily a new Christian, but I know that the last couple of years your walk with the Lord has multiplied a lot, or grown. You've grown in the Lord a lot just since I've met you. So I'm just, can you impart any wisdom out there, or what do you have to say to some of the younger guys about something like that? First of all, marriage isn't easy. Don't ever say that on my show. That marriage is I don't have any problems because my wife is. No, shut it. You've been married 5 weeks. Good luck with that. But and she's great. She's awesome. She's the most awesome one of the most awesome, top 2 most awesome people I've ever met in my life. So I'm going to say top 5 just because I thought just in case I don't want to get in trouble from some of the others.
You must say that a lot. Cody, you probably heard that before.
Top
5.
So I'm just saying, and do you have anything for some of the young guys out there that might be, because for guys, and you know what, I'm just going to wrap it up. We're going to take our break in a couple minutes, so we're going to come back to this. But because guys, here's something that I can't remember who imparted this wisdom on me one day. One of my guys, I'm sure, or a pastor, but he told me, women, and your wife is one of those women, have thought about their marriage their entire life. They thought about their wedding. They thought about their husband. They've thought about their children. They've thought about what they would do, how they would act, they have put too many expectations on what he would be like, how he would act, how kind of father he would be, all of these expectations. What dress they're gonna wear, what it's gonna look like when he says kiss you may kiss the bride. I mean, all of it. They have thought about and my daughter has thought about all of that. And to her credit, when COVID hit, she still said, "Let's get married," even though it's going to be different than probably a lot of the thoughts she had. And quite honestly, I'll bet she preferred this wedding better to what she had planned in her head, because which is one of the reasons she went to a smaller school, is because Jessica. Could you even imagine Jessica in a classroom of 300 people?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
Not at all. It just wouldn't have worked for her. It would have been just terrible for her. So, but then a man, and this person likened it to a man and his marriage, his wedding day, doesn't think about any of that stuff until he's standing at the altar, right? And he's getting ready to say "I do." So, in other words, it would be it would be equal to uh, going to the Olympics and starting your training for the Olympics on the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it'd be like. And this guy comes from all boys, so he's never thought about all of those things.
Oh, never actually.
Never even one of them.
I might put myself somewhere in the middle.
Maybe somewhere in the middle, but not to the extent of your wife.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to come back and talk about that. We're going to take a 5-minute break. So we'll be right back, guys.
All right, quick couple of shout outs before we start. And getting back to the questions. Madison Esteban said, "Love you, brother." Gary Savage said, "I am so proud to call this stud my son." So those are a couple comments and people watching live right now.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we were talking about, and and again, gone, but we're going to talk about. I can't remember everything I was saying, obviously, but I'm old. But we're going to talk about. Wow, we just had a 5-minute conversation about what we're going to talk about. Oh, we're going to talk about marriage, right?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about just to kind of open up what my journey has been, kind of getting to marriage and what that looks like. Well, first of all, let me say this before the break. I know you had mentioned not all guys envision what that wedding day is going to look like. I agree. I'm not there. Maybe I'm in the middle somewhere. I do consider myself to be somewhat of a romantic, which I think is an okay word to say. Us guys, we could be romantics. We should be romantics.
Yeah.
What day is
Thanks for
Valentine's
that.
Day,
Thank
Anthony? What day is Valentine's Day?
February 14th.
Yeah.
Well, last Valentine's Day, I told you, Valentine's Day is coming up, and then you told me Valentine's Day is.
I don't believe in
every
Valentine's
day.
Day. That's right. Valentine's
Every
Day
day.
is every day. I love my wife every
Yes.
single day.
Exactly.
I don't need a day.
Us guys should and could be romantic. We
Yes.
could, yeah.
That's about as romantic as I get. I love my wife every single day.
Case in point, just shows how incredible Jess is and how she's inspired me to demonstrate love in that way in this relationship. But the way that I asked her to be my girlfriend was, I don't know if you remember this story, but
You guys, listen, you got to check his Facebook page out. If you guys haven't seen his rap and how he asked her to be his girlfriend and how he asked to be engaged, it is ridiculous. But, it's going to be hard to beat. So,
I'll make it quick with the way that I asked her to be my girlfriend. It was, what can I do that was uniquely for that was just uniquely the two of us that nobody else really shared. And one of that was a group of students in Hoya that we had worked with. She worked with them as junior hires and high school freshmen. And then I had worked with them as high school seniors. And we surprised her. We invited Jessica in to kind of see the group of students that she hadn't seen in a couple of years. And I had written a poem, and the students, they started reading the lines of the poem, and she had no idea what was going on. And she was just following along to this poem, and she's like, what's going on? It was a poem about our relationship. And then at the end, one of the students held up a sign, "Will you be my girlfriend?" And I had flowers. And so I tried to make it special. And I know for the proposal, we're both obsessed with Hamilton, the musical, as you know. And so I wrote a 4-ish minute rap in the style of Hamilton.
Post it on the page, Jess. Post the link on the page, Jess. Post it
on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I know. Come on, Jess. Post it.
And it tells the story, of our relationship, and that I haven't always been that type of person, but she inspires me in that way for sure. Looking, I think, before that, really, I think in the last 10 years, my faith journey has just been all over the map. And sometimes it's difficult to find things to keep you grounded, but I've learned time and time again that the only thing that's really difficult is that you're making it difficult to remind yourself of those things that keep you grounded. So, for example, I moved down south, went to UCI, very liberal school, and met a lot of amazing people there, and had an amazing college experience. Wasn't the experience that got me super close to God. And that definitely.
Would we say it maybe moved you away from God some?
It moved me away from God. If you're not moving closer, it's like moving towards God. What is that example they often say is you're on a river that's constantly moving. And if you're not constantly paddling, if you're just idle, the river's just going to move you farther and farther away from where you want to go.
That's right.
And, there was a couple of relationships and one long-term relationship that was about a 5-year relationship with a woman who was not a believer that began in my time in college.
Not a believer, didn't even claim to be a believer. Right?
Didn't claim to be a believer. And that
claimed to be a non-believer.
Agnostic.
Okay.
Neither here nor there.
Believed
in something, but not Christian.
Right.
Whatever the terminology for that is now. She wasn't a believer. Is the important terminology. Right. The point of that, though, is that throughout those 5 years, I was continually convincing myself that either, number one, there was a way that this would end that would serve my soul. Because me still, calling myself a Christian and talking like a Christian, not walking like a Christian, I told myself, at the end of the day, it's going to feed my soul. This woman in my life is going to be a good thing for me. Or number two, I had this misplaced sense of pride that said God put me in her life to bring God to her. Um, there were times that I did try. There were times that many times that I flat out did not try to make sure that she was at least receiving Jesus as much as she could. So obviously that, thank God, relationship did not work out, but it took me 5 full years to learn those lessons,
Yeah.
and that was difficult. Um, I turned back to during that time I was thinking, what was going through my head really a lot of those days, and I remember those. I'm so glad that I was able to grow up in a foundationally Christian household. I know not everybody has that, um, but my namesake, Christian, which by the way I was actually named after Christian Leitner, college basketball player.
I know Christian Esteban, one
Eh,
of my favorite college basketball players of all time.
We love, go Duke. Okay. All
Maybe
that,
the
the whole
GOAT.
thing. Yeah. The point is, I love my namesake, not for that reason. Jess is the basketball player, not me, as you saw a couple months ago
And she knows who
when
Christian
she
Leitner is.
knocked me over pretty
Yeah.
cleanly. But take after my namesake in that way. And I always had parents that my mom always enforced that at home. And because of those foundational principles always in the back of my mind, I knew at the end of the day that that's where I wanted to be. And I was just being complacent in the moment. So a couple of weeks ago, I was going through some things.
Compromising.
I was compromising. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking through some things because we had just moved about a month ago when we got married. And I found this old note that I had kept for about 15 years. And it was a note that my mom wrote. And and I think it was sixth grade when I was in church and I went to this youth winter camp. And I remember I went to this camp, really shy kid. And, I was there at winter camp. I was missing home. I was only home, away from home for about a week. But I looked into my suitcase and I saw my mom had packed this note. And this note just read, how much my mom loved me and how good God is. And God knows my mom has gone through so much. She separated from my dad when I was 12, about 15, 16 years ago. That number could be wrong, but it was this letter that I had always kept. And even though I didn't see it all the time, I would open it up and read it occasionally. It always reminded me of what my faith tenets were and where I ultimately wanted to be. Of course, it did um, caused me to continue to just weigh on myself this like dissonance of having this core belief and then living in an ungodly way. But that's just one little example of one of those threads that you've got to hold on to those threads with everything that you can possibly.
And I believe, and Cody, I'm sure you can attest to it, being a young guy, is that is a problem with men today, young men today especially, is that we try and hang on to or save, be the savior. Well, I'll help her be the Christian, or we hang on to uh, different things like that, or you know what, it's just the way the world is today, or like we talked about during the break, like Cody was talking about, there just aren't those girls out there.
Yeah.
They're not readily available, right?
There's more,
Mm.
in the nice way to put it, earthly followers in terms of girls than there is Christian girls. It's very hard to find a true Christian girl, and then turn the other way, true Christian guys as well. So
That is correct.
it's definitely tough. But when you find that one, that's kind of like God basically saying that's the right one for you, in my opinion. But
Yeah, like what you said is, well, God put me in this girl's life. No, He didn't. God put that girl in your life to show you your shortcomings. Is really what ends up happening, right?
it was a learning lesson.
A learning lesson. So how important is it, fellas? Now this is for both of you. I mean, I get it, you get it. How important is it to, because and you ladies out there too. And I told my daughters this all the time. They very rarely listen. She'll attest to that. She didn't listen to a lot of things I said. But you got to find a boy who believes in God, and makes and takes the how many well, okay. One of our first meetings, what did I tell you about my daughter? I said, look, she's going to look to you to be the leader, the godly leader to sit down and have a Bible study or to talk about God or to be the God leader. And I said, and she's not going to tell you, but you better be that guy. So I put it on all you guys out there. If you ain't that guy and you're wondering, why you don't have that girl, that's on you. You got to be that's the Bible tells us we're the leaders, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, if you don't have that girl, don't try. Find the girl.
Yeah. Which it's hard. I agree.
It's hard.
It's hard, but that's kind of the trust the process part.
That's right. And what makes it hard for men and for women, and guys, like it or don't, is lust.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For men and for women. Man, there's, and nothing against anybody, but there's very few things on this planet more lustful than a 20-year-old boy.
Oh, I agree.
Cody, how old did you say you were?
I'm 20.
And unfortunately,
I think I'm a pretty good 20-year-old compared to others.
You are,
and not just a 20-year-old, obviously, but any. Yeah, I know a lot of us. Yeah, I remember being in our Mariners Rooted group about a year and a half ago. Amazing men's ministry there, probably about 15 guys, and we were talking about strongholds, and one of them being lust. And right away, the group leader didn't wait for anybody to share what their strongholds may be or if that included lust. He just came out and identified it, and 15 people around the room just followed suit.
Yeah. It's I mean, if the percentage of, honestly, guys, the percentage of pastors who have a pornography problem, it's scary.
It's crazy.
It's insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and I don't say 20-year-old boy or 20-year-old man or to be. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I'm saying 50-year-old man.
I mean, it's everyone.
It's everyone.
But we're younger, so it's our first time experiencing it. Which I get what you're saying.
And
there's a lot of volatility when you're at this age, and there's
your brain's not fully even
it's
developed.
Everywhere,
you're learning your lessons.
Everywhere, and you're susceptible with the way that our culture is framed. They make you susceptible to everything they put out there. Yeah, there you go. Yep. And we are susceptible to everything out there, and they all know it.
And you carry it right in your pocket now.
Yeah.
And on that note, the way the world is different now than it was 40, 50 years ago. Because here's another fun fact, and it's always been this way, but women are 7 times more lustful than men. That's a fun fact.
You got a source on that?
No. but I heard that somewhere. The difference is, right, that in the past well, first of all, in the past they suppressed it more, or they at least didn't. But nowadays, in this world today, I mean, sex is an activity.
Well, it's almost normalized.
It is normalized.
Where in the Christian world, it's frowned upon, but for a good reason. Obviously, it says in the Bible not to have lust, but to have sex until marriage, obviously. But
it says in the Bible that that's actually the worst. Sexual immorality, right, is the most harmful.
And why do you think the devil gives so much pressure on it? Because he knows it's the worst. So he's trying to make it's crazy.
I once asked my my therapist, who's also one of my pastors, I asked him, I said, really, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. A, I don't get why I keep doing the same dumb crap over and over and over again. And B, I don't understand. I mean, how come the devil never changes? He goes, well, why would he?
Yeah, why does he have to change?
Everything he's been doing for thousands of years continues to work. Why would he change anything that he's doing?
Right. He doesn't need a whole.
He keeps running the same play, and we keep
running right into it.
He can't defend his play. Yeah.
Right. He just runs the play, and we just.
So combating. How do you combat that? And for me, I know, and not just that, but any other sin,
yes.
and obviously,
not to say lust is more.
And any sin is serious, but there are gradations of sin, obviously, but to any sin, how do you combat that? And I learned from myself a couple of years ago. Still learning this, but for a couple of years ago, I learned that I was pretty isolated when it came to my faith because I didn't really know how to articulate or have conversations on faith or fellowship with just about anybody. And I like I said, I reached out to the Mariners Rooted group. I reached out to a good friend of mine who used to work for Joya, who we've been able to have fellowship quite a bit with. And it's all about putting that into practice, surrounding yourself with individuals. You've got to have accountability partners on you. and also with isolation. Man, it's dangerous for us to be isolated. It's dangerous for us to be alone, just physically alone in one space. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things that play into how we can combat those temptations.
A lot of things, and men's Bible studies and accountability with other men. This right here, being able to talk like this right here. I mean, just a few shows we get to talk to a 20-year-old man. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a big thing for me. It's a very important thing in my life and I get to talk to. I got a son-in-law I get to talk to and talk about God.
In
And
that case, maybe we could just keep talking for the next week and a half. That'll be good. As long as I'm in this room. This is.
it's we're in a safe place. But I think your wife would be down here.
Exactly. Well, exactly. That's the point. It's how to have these conversations with a group such as this, and then how to go elsewhere and lead those conversations. I'm not very good at that. I lean on Jessica a lot, to be a leader, and I'll use the term partner because it's got to. We both have to be leaders in those conversations about faith and scripture. But it's that, we've got to go into other spaces, just like your call to action for men everywhere to start their own ministries and chapters.
Start their own chapters, own Men of Impact chapter. Give us a call. We'll put it on. Send us some pictures. We'll put it on the website. We'll put it on. We'll put it on Facebook. Seriously, guys, you got to get out there and do it because you got to be able to talk to men like this about things that. Yeah, they're listen. Another thing, you're newly married. One day when you're married, here's the deal. This is the reality. You have to talk over your wife. Is this guy on the approved list?
Yeah.
Because if he's not on the approved list, you don't hang out with that guy. It's like being with the girl. Well, I can help her find Jesus. And there's going to be those, friends that you might have later on when you're married. No, he really needs a guy so I can maybe, breathe some Jesus into him.
Yeah.
No.
I got a question.
Yeah.
For you, for kids
Oh, yeah.
my age, for young Christian guys, what are some things? I was gonna say what are red flags, but I think more importantly, what are some things that you looked for in a Christian girl? Well, what were a couple things that you had to have from a girl that was Christian? Obviously, faith, but what were some other things that a normal girl per se didn't have?
That's an interesting question because I don't know, I've mentioned this before, but I haven't dated a lot of Christian women, and so I knew that. Here's what I say a lot about Jessica. Is that everything that she is everything that I've ever hoped to be, and I mean that. And now I love what that means because that means that I love how loving she is and Christ-like she is and giving and forgiving and she's got a servant heart. Um, all those things. I, I I saw that the moment that I reconnected with her in 2019. Um, and the problem is when I was looking for somebody to date, I didn't have a checklist. I know Jess had a checklist. Now
That's
you've got
right.
the Jack test.
That's the Jack test. That is correct.
And I didn't have a checklist that would hit the floor because I knew that a relationship with God, it looks different to everybody. And I didn't even know what I was looking for until it just hit me in the face like a bullet train. And so I know it
But you
sucks because that
realized
doesn't
as
answer
soon
your
as it
question.
hit you- no, yeah, but as soon as it hit you, you kind of realize like this was what I was looking for.
That's the thing. Exactly. It was a faith that was so genuine and just is incomparable in a lot of ways to almost any woman that I'd ever encountered
Yeah.
because she wore it on her sleeve. She didn't even wait for me to bring up a conversation about God or anything like that. She just wore it on her sleeve. That was her conversation. That was how she lived, how she breathed, how she worked, everything. Um, so I definitely didn't know what I was looking for.
And I think that therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Is that we as men again. Okay, you as women, me as women, like Jessica, I've always told her you had to have a Jack test. You had to have a Jack test. And every boy she said, "Hey, I'm dating this guy," or "I met this guy," I said, "Okay, does he pass the test?" Jack test is job, apartment, car. If you ain't, if at 28 years old you don't have a job, apartment, and a car, I gave her some grace at 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if
As you should.
right, but at 28 years old, 27 years old, you're living with your mom, riding a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
And you're
That's the Jack test.
that's the job, apartment, car.
Write it down.
Sean.
Oh, yeah,
Write
it's
it
easy to
down.
remember.
What's the K stand for?
It's a C.
Or
JAC.
JAC. Okay.
JAC,
okay.
just JAC, the Jack test. Right? So here's what I'm saying for you young ladies out there or older ladies that are in between relationships, but are looking for it. And you younger guys like Cody, make a list. I think that was that's actually a good lesson from that question. Great question, Cody. Great answer. And I think that's a lesson that we can all learn is have a list. And if the boxes aren't being checked, what's the answer, guys?
Yeah. Then okay. Can I add on this question?
Yeah.
What happens if, and this could be for everybody, you have a list, not every box is checked.
I would, well, first of all, I would love to see the list. Well, coming from a guy who didn't have a list,
Yeah.
it depends on what the box is.
Depends on the box that isn't checked.
In my I don't think if there is an unchecked box, then that automatically disqualifies somebody if maybe they're I don't know, something less
Depending
meaningful
on the
than
questions, obviously.
depending on what it is.
Depending on your list.
But
yeah.
obviously, it just depends on how you're prioritizing.
What's top on the list?
Your faith in Jesus. Well, the box that I had in that long-term relationship that I was in, that was the biggest box, and that was unchecked. And
you
had blinders on. With this relationship, the first thing that was checked with a big check mark was your faith in Jesus. And I'll be honest, a lot of the other boxes didn't really. I don't know. A lot of them do matter, obviously, but
if you both have a faith in Jesus and you're moving closer together, like the pastor said, you're moving closer together by moving closer to God, like a triangle.
Right. And the other example, of course, is, which I think this is important when dating, is I know Jess says this a lot, but both of you have to be on these parallel paths where each of you has a heart for God, and you're running towards Him. And I know we talked about this before. And you just keep running after Him. And one of those days, you're going to look up, you're going to turn to the left, you're going to turn to the right, you're going to see somebody else who's doing the same thing on their own merit with their own intention. And again, you're both racing toward God. It's important that they take on their own godly conversation with themselves. So you've got to make sure that she has her own well-defined relationship with God. Obviously, the thing that is just as difficult and that you can control is your own relationship with God and what that looks like.
So the biggest check, or the biggest part on the list should be, or the first thing on the list should be, she has to have a relationship with God.
That's right. Because
Jesus.
That's right. Because the reality is, what does God tells us? It's God, your wife, right? Your kids, and then everything else.
Oh, let me get a pen.
Right. God, wife, kids. So, and for a lot of years, I even told my wife this. And I'm gonna cop to it again, but and I've told Jessica too. Is I told my wife at one time, look, man, this is not about us. This is about those kids. Don't ever say that to your wife, because it is about her.
Starts there.
Is there a case to be made for wife and kids on that same beautiful plane?
There isn't.
Why does that not work? You have kids above wife. I don't have kids yet, as you know.
Because one day you're old and those kids aren't there. And now you're living with just the wife.
Sure.
You better know your wife. You better have a relationship with God, and it better be good. Right? So if it's all about the kids, all about the kids, all about the kids, one day you're living with a stranger. And let me tell you something about women and living with a stranger. They need emotional support. It's you or somebody else, dude.
Agreed.
They'll find somebody to give it to them. Doesn't have to be you.
I know she wants to adopt a wiener dog. Maybe that can help.
That'll help.
But
you're much better at that whole. You're much better at that whole thing than me. Okay, so we got 41 seconds. So
I'm gonna do a quick shout out. Shout outs to people in here. Wes said, "Great job." Gary Savage said, "Make sure you put on the full armor of God daily." Patrick Martinez put the thumbs up. But yeah, those are a couple more.
Hey, fellas, how you doing? Good to have you. Shout out,
Gary. Good to see you, Madison. Mom, thanks for being here.
So that's going to wrap it up, guys. We got 20 seconds to go. Just a shout out to all the guys out there. Listen, subscribe to the YouTube page. Check us out on the Men of Impact. All three, and start your own chapter. Send me an email.
See you later.
See you later, guys.
Phew.
I
Thanks for
love
having
you,
me.
and Jesus loves you more.